Hi everyone, welcome to All Four Queens 555. I hope everyone's doing well this Friday morning. Um, Welcome to the channel. It's all about warfare, healing and awakening. So you've probably seen on my channel, if you've followed it, that there's a lot of warfare. But I wanted to document it to inspire others to not, to stand up and speak up, especially when you don't get any support from the physical realm. We all have a voice, and we're entitled to freedom of speech. If I sound strange, excuse me, I've got a lot of people pulling on my energy, as we know. There's a lot going on at the moment, and obviously I've got a lot of people trying to hit me in certain areas as well. So please bear with me as best I can, and I say thank you in advance for that. It is a strange time when if you think about where the world is, there's a lot going on, and we're all under judgment, and there's a big shift happening. Personally, I hope it's a shift into everyone awakening. Those that are supposed to awaken will, and those that are not won't. But we lean on the fact that God touches the hearts of man, doesn't he, and women in our dream state, and those that he's touched will be awakened, and those that he hasn't won't. Let us leave it to him to decide that. What I want to talk about a little bit today is I was listening this morning, and you remember I've shown you the cards about the devil energy and God's energy. So I was listening this morning to some songs that come through as they do, and a lot of them were 70s and 80s, and it was so nice to listen to them because for me personally, real music, just nice words and uplifting. And I'm not putting a derogatory spin on the music today, but I do think it's very influenced by the darker energy, and I'm just going to leave it there. So if anyone wants to be a bit uplifted, look at some of the old stuff and get some vibrations raising, I think is where I'm going. But on this particular one, I want to talk a little bit about rage baiting, because I think if we look at some of the stuff that's happened to me, a lot of it I think was to try and incite me into getting angry, so that I could fulfill a falsehood narrative that they had sort of said about me, like some false prophecy that they tried to put on me to make me look a certain way. And we know it happens, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who's had their identity stolen. Hopefully that I've brought an awareness to it, and hopefully that there'll be some serious rules around how it happens in the future. However, I wanted to talk a little bit about this, and I was laughing to myself because I was thinking about the character Regina George as well, in the Mean Girls. And I don't necessarily think it's just girls. I think there's some mean boys as well, and we know that they sit in different little pockets and whatever they want to do. And we also know that on one of them I've said calling in the divine masculine energy, because we know that there's been a lot of dilution in energy, and a lot of men have been operating very feminine, and some women, and I would say to myself, have had to stand into a more masculine energy. And the whole purpose of awakening is that we balance both. But obviously from my perspective, I've been very driven, active, action focused to get stuff done, because I was thinking I'd got a house and got a job, and you need to get stuff done. So and a lot of the men have been around, what do I say, so in one of the other ones I talk about leader and follower, and I talk about toxic environments, and sometimes some men have got drawn into feminine behaviours in terms of the gossipy type behaviour, and bullyish, and probably quite abusive as well. And I don't mean that they're all like that, but I think sometimes you have to be, the point of discernment is to identify what is going on, and to take a step back and ask yourself, do I really want to be involved in this? And that's when it comes to the Bible teaches us to test the spirit, because it's important. Is that spirit a nice spirit or a mean spirit? It can look beautiful on the outside, both men and women, but actually inside, is it a nice spirit or is it a mean spirit? And if it's someone who's got nothing better to say about themselves but only talk about others in a derogatory way, you have to ask yourself, what type of spirit is it really? Hence going back to the rage baiting. So I just want to go on to that a little bit. So I looked at it, and rage baiting, deliberate use of different inflammatory or highly frustrating content meant to provoke outrage. Now, you know, with me, there's been a lot going on with me on the physical realm, but also spiritually, in terms of trying to attach things to attack me, witchcraft, voodoo, the medical apps, everything, attack my crown, to try and rage bait me, because they need me to fulfill a narrative that they've said. So one of the things I want people to be mindful of, it's to get an emotional reaction basically and get you into anger. So pause before reacting. So I would encourage people to pause before reacting, just stop and think about it, and to stop the cycle, which can be a karmic cycle, can't it? And especially, you can't stop what other people choose to do, but you can control your own behaviour, and it could be a generational curse that you're breaking yourself by not reacting to it. So then we go into the spirits. Okay, so the mean spirit. Acting in a deliberate, cruel, petty, or malicious way. Now, you can find this on Google. It describes behaviour driven by a desire to cause harm, embarrassment, or discomfort to someone else, rather than being motivated by constructive feedback. Characteristics: malicious intent, doing or saying things specifically to upset or humiliate others. Ungenerous and petty, lacking basic kindness, empathy, and willingness to help. Small-mindedness, focusing on petty insults or grudges rather than the bigger picture. And the real-world examples: mean-spirited, publicly mocking a co-worker's appearance during a meeting to embarrass them, or publicly mocking somebody in general, full stop, and using defamation, which is obviously what's happened to me, and obviously the gang stalking as well. Not mean-spirited, pulling the same co-worker aside privately to tell them and let them know they have something in their teeth. So you could imagine somebody in a massive group mocking somebody because they've got something in their teeth, or kindly pulling them aside and just having that conversation one-on-one and not making it a big thing. And that's the same for everything, isn't it, really? It's about being, courteous. And obviously, when you do constructive feedback with people, but then they go and tell the world that something's completely different, obviously you can't control that. Only you can control the conversations that you've had. You can't control their spirit, but you can control how you respond to it. And I think that's the key in terms of, making the world a better place, really. We can't control how people choose to behave in this world. No more can we control the way that they perceive feedback, because feedback is positive. It helps us grow. We all welcome it, depending on how it's given, but we can't be responsible for how people receive it either. That's something that they need to look at and ask themselves, well, why did I react to it in that way? And if they did react to it, it might be because there's a generational curse there that they need to look at and clear, or a past life one where there's something similar has happened and they just haven't cleared the trigger. But everything that somebody else says seems to trigger them. But rather than clear the curse, they go into the mean spirit and they attack other people and blame other people for it. And for me, when we talk about the world being a kinder place, we can't get to that place unless other people start to look at their own behaviours and actually ask themselves, why do they do the things they do? Not everyone's going to do that. Some people are that far gone that they probably like being in the mean-spirited behaviour, and that's fine. But my point there is, don't dilute people that do actually want the world to be a better place. We've lived in this negativity for so long now. Let's not keep diluting the world and put it into a nicer place, really. And why not have change? We've lived in this negativity for so long. Why not do something different? So that's why I say about, go back on the old music and listen to it. Some of it's really good. I've been dancing around this morning, raise your vibration a little bit. So yeah, so the mean spirited and rage baiting. So obviously I can only assume that that's what they've been trying to do to me. And but yeah, let's call it out, but let's do it in a way that's productive. And obviously people stealing our content as well. It takes a lot of time to do the work and do the research, and then people can come along and just take it. And but we know, do not be deceived, for God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. If he sows from the sinful nature of destruction, he will get destruction. And if he sows from the Spirit, he will get eternal life. So we know that we don't have to avenge, for it's written, do not avenge, for I shall avenge, and I shall repay, says the Lord. Vengeance is mine. And we know we don't have to do that, because we know that if you are in alignment with God, and when I say in alignment, I'm not. I always say, you don't have to say you're a religious, but as long as you live a righteous life and you're not out hurting people, and you stay true to at least the 10 commandments of common sense, then you're aligned. I mean, if you want to pray and you want to get a relationship with Him, great. But I would say the basics are treating people how you want to be treated. Luke 6:31, and you can't go wrong. So when people adopt these mean-spirited and wanting to rage bait people, you have to ask yourself, what is it about them? It's not about you, it's about them. And we just send them peace and just hope that they can get over whatever it is that they're going through. So I hope that makes sense to somebody out there, because I felt on my spirit that there's like a lot of people who are feeling a little bit down and disheartened. But just remember, we're not alone, and there is a lot of change going on in the world, and there's a lot of people being exposed, and a lot of people having to look at the way that they've been behaving. But also I do think that there's a lot of people that have been drawn into things that didn't realise what they were getting into, and so I will give them that as well. But hopefully we can all look at ourselves and make the world a better place for everyone else. We've all got to share it either way, haven't we? So why not make it a nicer place for everyone? Okay, so I'm going to love you and leave you on that one. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you on the next one, and sending you much love and light and healing. See you later. Bye.